And here we go, folks. This is the Boulder Creek Engineering Train Boss Defect Detector. Now, this was an afterthought after we built the layout. You want to keep this circuit away from your main DCC bus line and all that because apparently it can affect this. It appears, according to the instructions, which is a pretty hefty manual, so to speak. But don't let that scare you from this product. It took me a few hours this evening to wire this up. And I would say I'm very impressed with it and I felt comfortable putting it in. What you will need if you buy one of these, you'll need a couple of LEDs. Do not exceed 200 milliamp according to the instructions online. You will also need a couple of speakers, unless you want to get an 8 ohm standalone speaker to put in the back side of it, which I opted for these. That way people can hear it on the layout. And there we have op sessions, it gets a little noisy, and that little speaker wouldn't do the job. So let's talk about how we first started. I'd already had the track laid, ballast down, and a few years ago my friend bought me this as a gift. So I did feel like wetting the ballast and all that jazz to pull this up. I already had a defect detector here, which there's all the parts, which will go back in eventually. Basically, cut your ties down the middle, 2 different spots. Basically, cut the center section out. Take you a couple of number 17 X-Acto blades or straight blade. Cut the rail anchors out and remove the tie. Remove the ballast. Now, I believe it shows a 1/4 inch diameter drill bit to basically go underneath the rail to cut it out. This LED is actually folded the other way when you get it. Do not fold this way before installing it. Fold it after. As you can see, to shore this up, I put some styrene underneath it to give it some support. That way everything's leveled out. That way I could adjust the LED. I could not use the drill because, as you can see, there's no way to get a drill in there. So basically I just cut X patterns in the roadbed. Keep your mini shop vac handy because you're going to need it, and suck all the ballast and everything up in it in the junk roadbed. So you'll drill 1/16 inch hole for the leads. Now you can operate this detector with only one sensor. That'll count your axles and make it work properly. The second set is for train speed, train length. So once you get that installed, you slip this under, you fold your LED. Now it just needs to be rail height. Then after that, I cut a piece in my fascia to accommodate the board. Like I said, this was already existing, so I don't have this mounted the way I would if I was starting from scratch. But I kind of like the LEDs lighting up and everything on it, so I'm eventually going to build a clear case to flip down on top of this and actually put a lock on it, so nobody can go in and fool with it or touch it unless you're a quote-unquote signal maintainer. However, these 2 buttons, I'll get to those here shortly. You will need a 9 to 12 volt DC power pack I actually used a Digitrax power supply, which also powers the crossing gates. I piggybacked off a power strip with that. You will need 2 LEDs. Boulder Creek shows 2 red. I didn't go with that. I'll show you that here in a moment. Basically everything is plug and play. This is the first sensor, second sensor, and they share a ground. This is your train report and next train hot wire. Here's the ground. Here's the clear out. These two, this tells you whenever you got a hot box. So I haven't learned to program this yet, but that'll be the next video. Hopefully I can get that down. So to test.
Defect detector. Defect detector. No defects. Total axle count 1. Temperature 5.3. End of transmission.
Now this G9 plug, if I remove it, it will actually tell me the speed and the train length of the train actually going across. And I did double check this. I did count the axles on a coal train I ran across this area. It did count them properly. So that's pretty impressive among itself. Now with this, you're supposed to be able to input all kinds of stuff. The actual temperature that you want it to hear, like the layout's set in October, so it's going to be 69, 70 degrees, something like that. So now if you wanted to hear that report again with the weather and all.
Defect detector. No defects. Total axle count 1. Temperature 5.3. End of transmission.
Now these two buttons, next train and train report, these will be available to the operators on the layout. Like I said, I'm going to build the clear case. That way you can still see the numbers and all the lights. People like that. The green flashing light LED is the heartbeat. You want to make sure it's on every 1 second. If not, you've got wires crossed. You need to double check that real quick before you zap the board. So let's hit next train. I would suggest a push button. Only thing I had was a single pole, single throw, which gets the job done, but hey. So we get our greeting. Now, what's the 2 LEDs?
Defect detector. Stop. Train. First. Hot box. Axle 1. South. Rail. End of transmission.
Now, if I'd actually had a full train going across here, I went 2 separate LEDs. I didn't want 2 red. I wanted a white light to show that the detector was actually working, going to be ready for the next train. The red will light up whenever the defect is found. And same thing goes for whenever you can set this in an ops session, let's say every 280 axles, you're going to have a defect of some kind. This would light up, and that would hit red whenever it finds the defect, and it would tell you.
Defect detector. Stop. Train. First. Hot box. Axle 1. South. Rail. End of transmission.
The LEDs will clear out less than a minute after the announcement. So stay tuned for more. I will do a tutorial on how to cover this guy up. Granted, it's not going to be the way I'd like it to look, but hey, can't keep everything prototypical sometimes. So, especially after you've already built your layout. So, if you're building a layout, plan ahead for this. I do recommend this company. It seems like they've got their stuff together. You follow the instructions, pretty much plug and play. So, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope this helped, and have a good night.